Only one rookie this season is averaging over 10 points per game, shooting above 35% from beyond the arc, and holding his matchups to under 50% from the field. And that standout is none other than Jaylen Wells. Jaylen has been quietly making waves, putting up 11.3 points, 3.2 rebounds, and knocking down 37.7% of his shots from deep, all in just 26.1 minutes per game. But his impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. The Grizzlies are thriving, sitting at 35-16, holding the second seed in the highly competitive Western Conference. They're not just holding their ground, they're getting better as the season rolls on. Currently riding a 4-game winning streak and boasting a 10-1 record in their last 11 games, this team's upward trajectory is impossible to ignore. While Jaylen might not be the sole reason behind the Grizzlies' impressive run, his contributions have been undeniable. His influence stretches beyond the numbers, making key plays, locking down defensively, and fitting seamlessly into the team's system. In this video, we'll break down Jaylen's game, highlighting both the strengths that have fueled his success and the areas where there's still room for growth. So let's dive deeper into Jaylen Wells' impact and find out just how much he's shaping the Grizzlies' success this season. Offensively, Jaylen is having a phenomenal rookie season, particularly with his shooting. While there are several standout aspects of his offensive game that we'll dive into in this video, let's start with the area where he's truly excelled, his shooting. Jaylen is knocking down 37.7% of his shots from beyond the arc and converting 44.4% from the field. Among all rookies this season, he's attempted the most three-pointers, and despite the high volume, he remains one of the most efficient long-range shooters. In fact, he ranks third in three-point percentage among rookies who've attempted at least 70 threes this season, an impressive feat that speaks volumes about both his confidence and consistency. To put his shooting prowess into perspective, Jaylen is attempting 4.3 catch-and-shoot threes per game, hitting an impressive 37.3% of them. This shot has become his bread and butter, defining his offensive identity. Remarkably, catch-and-shoot threes account for 48% of all his shot attempts this season, even surpassing his attempts in the paint. Given his efficiency in this area, it would be strategic for the Memphis Grizzlies to design more plays that free him up for these high-percentage opportunities. Interestingly, while his catch-and-shoot numbers have been eye-catching, Jaylen has been even more efficient with his pull-up threes, connecting on a remarkable 41.9% of them. However, he's only attempted 31 pull-up threes this season, making up less than 7% of his total shots. This limited volume is largely because he doesn't have the ball in his hands as often, typically serving as an outlet option when teammates collapse the defense through drives or pick-and-roll actions. This represents an untapped area of potential. If the Grizzlies coaching staff can incorporate more plays that allow Jaylen to create his own shot, like isolation sets or actions designed to put the ball in his hands, his offensive impact could skyrocket. However, not everything has been smooth sailing. One area where Jaylen has struggled is with contested three-point shots. When guarded closely with defenders within 0 to 4 feet from him, he's shooting just 21.1%. Conversely, when given more space with defenders 4 feet or more away, he connects on 39% of his threes. Currently, less than 5% of his attempts are contested, largely because defenses haven't fully recognized his threat from deep. But as the season progresses and his reputation grows, defenders will start closing out more aggressively, reducing the number of open looks he gets. That's why it's crucial for Jaylen to continue developing his ability to hit contested shots. As defenses adjust, this could become a key differentiator between him being a good shooter and an elite one. Addressing this now will ensure that his offensive game remains versatile and resilient, even as defensive schemes evolve, especially during the playoffs. As mentioned earlier, the Grizzlies coaching staff should seriously consider incorporating more isolation plays for Jaylen Wells, because he's quietly been thriving in those situations this season. Jaylen is averaging 0.90 points per possession on ISOs, matching Ja Morant's efficiency and outperforming Desmond Bane in that department. However, he's only had 30 isolation possessions so far, while Bane and Ja are doubling and even tripling that volume. This raises an intriguing question. Just how much better could Jaylen become with an increased workload? The potential is hard to ignore, especially considering his impressive shot-making ability and how he has been lights out on pull-up threes and mid-range jumpers, as well as converting an outstanding 56% of his shots in the paint, a mark that actually surpasses Ja Morant's efficiency in that area, which is no small feat for a guard. All of this points to one thing: Jaylen Wells has earned the right to more ISO opportunities. It's time to let him showcase his full arsenal as an isolation creator. The second half of the season offers the perfect window to experiment. If Jaylen rises to the occasion, and all signs suggest he will, the Grizzlies might just unlock another dynamic offensive weapon. And come playoff time, having as many reliable scoring options as possible can be the difference between a good run and a deep one. Now, let's shift our focus to an area where Jaylen has truly excelled this season: his pick-and-roll game. To say Jaylen has been good as a pick-and-roll ball handler would be an understatement. He's been elite. In fact, no one on the Grizzlies roster even comes close to matching his efficiency in this role. Jaylen is generating an impressive 1.28 points per possession as the pick-and-roll ball handler. To put that into perspective, the next closest Grizzly is Desmond Bane, producing 0.93 points per possession, followed by Ja, who's at 0.84 points per possession. Those numbers might seem unbelievable if you haven't been watching Grizzlies games, or more specifically, if you haven't been watching Jaylen Wells this season. But here's the kicker. Despite his dominance, Jaylen has had very few pick-and-roll opportunities. In fact, less than 4% of his offensive possessions have come from pick-and-rolls, which is even fewer than his isolation possessions. Given how incredibly effective he's been, the Grizzlies should seriously consider putting the ball in his hands more often for these actions in the second half of the season. Why is this so important? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about preparation for the playoffs. By giving Jaylen more chances to run pick and rolls and isolations, the Grizzlies can develop an additional offensive weapon that opponents won't be fully prepared for. When defenses start locking in on Ja, Jaren, and Bane, it'll be players like Jaylen who can step up, having already been battle-tested in key offensive roles during the regular season. That experience could be the difference maker in critical playoff moments. Now, moving on to the Grizzlies' transition offense, a key pillar of their overall scoring strategy. The Grizzlies have been amazing in transition, with nearly a third of their points coming from fast break opportunities, underscoring just how vital this aspect is to their success. One player who's truly excelled in this area is Jaylen. This season, he's been exceptional in transition, outperforming even Ja and Bane in this facet of the game. A big reason for his dominance is his blazing speed. As soon as the Grizzlies secure a defensive rebound or force a steal, Jaylen is already sprinting ahead, positioning himself perfectly to receive a full-court pass for easy buckets. Few defenders can match his pace, which is exactly why this tactic works so effectively. He turns defense into instant offense in the blink of an eye. But Jaylen's transition game isn't just about speed. He has a knack for finding open spaces, making himself an ideal target for kick-ahead passes that lead to catch-and-shoot threes. And when he's the one handling the ball in transition, he's fearless, pulling up confidently from beyond the arc, often burying momentum-shifting three-pointers. His ability to capitalize in these situations makes him a dynamic force and a key weapon in the Grizzlies' offensive arsenal. Now, shifting our focus back to the Grizzlies and Jaylen's role in their half-court offense. The Grizzlies have done a great job this season utilizing Jaylen as a dynamic cutter, and he's been excellent in that role. Whether it's slicing in from the corner or making sharp cuts from the wing, Jaylen's high basketball IQ allows him to read defenses with precision and exploit any lapses in coverage. Jaylen is good at recognizing key defensive triggers. When opponents overhelp on the ball handler or when his defender gets caught ball watching, he instinctively times his cuts to perfection. This keen sense of timing and spatial awareness has propelled him to rank in the 70th percentile for cuts this season, generating an impressive 1.40 points per possession. Among all guards in the league, he stands 7th in points per possession off cuts, a testament to both his efficiency and effectiveness. But what sets Jaylen apart is not just his ability to cut, but how smartly he does it. He patiently waits for the right moment, often when the ball handler drives off a pick and roll or isolates to break down a defender. As soon as Jaylen notices his defender leaning even slightly to provide help defense, he explodes toward the basket. By the time his primary defender scrambles to recover, Jaylen is already elevating for an easy layup or a soft floater near the rim. Making intelligent cuts isn't just about speed or athleticism. It requires a deep understanding of the game's rhythm and flow. Poorly timed cuts can disrupt spacing, clog driving lanes, and stall an offense. But Jaylen consistently makes the right reads at the right moments, showcasing his advanced grasp of the game. This season has highlighted his growth as an elite cutter, and with his evolving skill set, he's poised to become even more impactful in the years to come. The final aspect of Jaylen Wells' offensive game we'll be breaking down in this video is his offensive rebounding. Jaylen isn't just one of the best offensive rebounding guards on his team, he's one of the best in the entire league. Impressive for a rookie. To put his dominance into perspective, Jaylen has snagged more offensive boards this season than big men like Naz Reid, Yusuf Nurkic, and Kristaps Porzingis. That's right, a rookie guard outworking seasoned bigs on the glass. He's like a magnet to the ball, relentlessly tracking down rebounds and creating extra possessions, which is a huge reason why Memphis ranks second in the league for offensive rebounds per game. So far this season, Jaylen has pulled down 53 offensive rebounds, converting those into 84 second-chance points. That's more second-chance points than players like Derek Lively, Mark Williams, and Isaiah Hartenstein. In fact, Jaylen alone has accounted for about 10% of Memphis's total second-chance points this season. This ability to crash the glass and generate extra scoring opportunities has been an underrated and often overlooked part of Jaylen's game. But make no mistake, it's a key factor in his impact on the court. This season, Desmond Bane has been huge for Jaylen Wells' offensive evolution. While Bane is often celebrated for his scoring prowess, one of the most underrated aspects of his game is his playmaking ability. He's currently dishing out an impressive 5.5 assists per game. But what truly stands out is how pivotal he's been to Jaylen's shooting success, a connection that hasn't been talked about nearly enough. No player has assisted Jaylen more than Bane this season, 56 times to be exact. That means nearly 20% of Jaylen's points have come directly off Bane's passes, highlighting just how integral Bane has been to Wells' breakout performance. The numbers back it up in a big way. Jaylen is converting an outstanding 60.6% of his two-point attempts when set up by Bane, significantly higher than his season average of 52.7%. From beyond the arc, the chemistry is even more electric. Jaylen is hitting 46.8% of his threes off Bane's assists, compared to his overall average of 37.7%. And we're talking high-volume shots here, not just a small sample size. The synergy between Bane and Jaylen is undeniable. Their on-court connection is blossoming into one of the season's most exciting storylines. As we head into the second half of the season, keep an eye on this dynamic duo. Jaylen's ability to read and react to Bane's playmaking is something special, and it's only getting better. Now let's dive into a topic that always sparks conversation among basketball fans: defense. For a player who ranks second in offensive rating among all rookies this season, trailing only his teammate Zach Edey, you'd expect his defensive stats to shine just as brightly. But that's not quite the case. Jaylen's defensive rating sits at 111.1, placing him squarely in the middle of the pack compared to his rookie peers. Now, while defensive rating isn't the ultimate measure of a player's defensive prowess, since it's heavily influenced by team performance on that end, it still offers valuable insight into how a player fares individually. On the surface, Jaylen's defensive numbers might raise some eyebrows. In isolation and pick-and-roll situations, his metrics rank among the lower tier in the league. That might sound surprising to some, especially since he's earned praise for his defense throughout the season. But here's the catch. Stats don't always capture the whole picture. I'll break down the story behind those numbers, diving into why Jaylen's defensive stats paint a less than flattering picture, and how, without proper context, numbers can sometimes be misleading. So let's unravel the truth behind the data and see what's really happening on the defensive end for Jaylen. Jaylen is often assigned the daunting task of guarding the opposing team's best players each game. and that's a major factor contributing to his defensive stats, particularly in ISO and pick-and-roll situations. Let's begin by analyzing into Jaylen's ISO defense. Statistically, this season, he's been ranked among the bottom 8% of ISO defenders in the league, allowing 1.15 points per possession when guarding isolation plays. That's higher than players like Austin Reeves, Tyrese Maxey, and Trae Young, who are surrendering fewer points per possession in similar situations. In fact, Jaylen ranks second on his own team in points allowed per possession on ISOs, only trailing Jay Huff, who has a slightly worse number at 1.21. But here's the thing, Jaylen's numbers don't tell the full story. He's tasked with guarding some of the league's best and most skilled players on an island, often facing massive mismatches in size and skill. When you watch the tape, you'll see that, despite the stats, Jaylen does a lot of things right on ISO defense. Sure, he sometimes gets beaten off the dribble by smaller, quicker guards, something even the top defenders in the league struggle with, but his effort and execution are clear. The real challenge for Jaylen is the size mismatch. He's frequently forced to guard larger players who can shoot over him, even when he's contesting the shot well. These bigger players know they can't beat Jaylen with speed, so they back him down in the post or rise up for a shot over him. Despite his excellent contests, Jaylen's size disadvantage simply can't be overcome in those situations. With Ja Morant and Desmond Bane in the starting lineup, one of them must guard forwards with a size advantage, and that responsibility often falls to Jaylen. But when Jaylen is matched up with players his own size, he thrives. He's exceptional at sliding his feet, containing the drive, and finishing possessions with strong contests that force misses. So while his ISO defense numbers might not look great, the eye test reveals a much stronger defender than the stats suggest, especially when the matchup is fair and there's no significant size advantage. It's like they say, great offense beats great defense, and that's something Jaylen often faces. So don't let his ISO numbers fool you. While guys like Reeves and Trae Young might have more favorable stats, they're not regularly tasked with guarding the best players in the league the way Jaylen is. Much like his isolation defense, Jaylen's numbers in pick-and-roll situations have been disappointing this season. He's allowing 0.95 points per possession, placing him in the bottom third of the league. However, the cause behind his struggles in pick-and-roll defense differs from what we see in his isolation numbers. While his poor isolation stats stem from guarding larger opponents, Jaylen's issues in the pick-and-roll come from his difficulty getting through screens. When you watch the film, it's clear Jaylen often gets stuck on screens, unable to maneuver around them. This struggle creates a domino effect, as the ball handler is able to gain separation and attack the big man, often resulting in a shot attempt at the rim. The challenges become even more pronounced when Jaylen is paired with Zach Edey. On pick-and-roll plays involving the two, they tend to be more vulnerable. Jaylen's difficulty in getting over the screen, combined with Edey's tendency to play drop coverage, where he stays back near the rim due to his slower foot speed, creates a tough situation. If Edey steps up to defend the ball handler at the level of the screen, he risks getting beaten off the dribble. If he drops back, the ball handler is left with a wide-open three-point shot. It's a lose-lose scenario for both players. Quick guards like Jalen Green and Anthony Edwards often have a field day against this type of pick-and-roll defense. And when you consider that Jaylen is frequently tasked with defending some of the fastest, most skilled guards in the league, it's no surprise that he gives up points in these situations. The root of Jaylen's struggles is his ability to navigate screens, something that comes with time and experience. He's still a rookie, and while the learning curve is steep, there are plenty of games ahead for him to improve. As he gets more opportunities to understand how NBA bigs set screens and develop better techniques to work through them, his defense will surely tighten up. With just 50 NBA games under his belt, Jaylen has plenty of time to refine his skills and turn these growing pains into future success. What has truly made Jaylen's defensive play stand out this season is his exceptional ability to read the offense and seize opportunities to attack the passing lanes. His knack for anticipating passes and timing his moves to intercept them has been outstanding. Already, he's racked up 30 steals, ranking 6th among all rookies, a key reason the Grizzlies are sitting 5th in the league for steals per game. It's his keen understanding of where the ball is likely headed and getting there before the pass is even made that disrupts the opponent's flow and stops their offensive momentum cold. But it doesn't stop there. Jaylen's talent for breaking up passing lanes, especially in transition, completely nullifies much of what the opposing team hopes to do. And unsurprisingly, the Grizzlies have thrived in transition defense, ranking among the top 10 in the league. While the Grizzlies' team-wide emphasis on aggressive passing lane defense has certainly played a role, Jaylen's ability to execute at such a high level as a rookie is a credit to his remarkable basketball IQ. Despite his age, his natural gift for reading the game and making timely steals has been an invaluable asset to the team's defensive success. With the Grizzlies ranking 6th in defensive rating and boasting one of the league's best half-court defenses, Jaylen's contributions have been a major factor in their overall defensive dominance this season. Right now, Jaylen and the Grizzlies are sitting on a golden runway, one that stretches into the next few years, offering them the perfect opportunity to keep developing and solidifying their place as true title contenders. This season, the Grizzlies have certainly emerged as potential contenders, though they may still find themselves just behind a few other favorites in the race for the championship. What the first half of this season has revealed about Jaylen and this team has been really promising. If they can build on their progress, refining both their offense and defense, they could transform into a truly formidable force in the second half of the season. And if they carry that momentum into the playoffs, there's no telling how far the Grizzlies could go this year. Anything is truly possible.